Why is the fade on? Hello people, I am once again the dude. You know me. I don't have to introduce myself. And I'm here reviewing the Tekky Toys Guardian of the Grave. This was one of the classics in the Tekky Toys Rising line, between the Demonicas, the Rising Witch from the Cauldron, I forgot what it was called, fucking Evil Cauldron Witch, I'm dumb as hell, and the Rising Reaper with Pumpkin, the Creepy Caretaker. This was arguably one of the best out of that line. He was one of the most interesting in a lot of people's opinions. He's an animatronic who is extremely simple, but he gets the job done with his effect and his character. He was released in 2008 at Spirit. That was back then. He was, I think, maybe like $100. I could be wrong, but that version, he would, when you would activate him, he would have a 3-second delay so that the fog would start blowing first, and then he would activate. Even when the fog was unplugged, there was still that delay. And then I think in 2011, they started making the newer version of him, which is this one. I don't have the older version, I only have the newer one, where it fogs, lights up, and talks all at the same time. I love this prop a lot. I had always wanted him, and I got him actually fairly recently off of Tekky Toys website where they dump all the surplus props, getcoolstuff.com. I'll leave the link in the description. There's still a couple of these left, along with a couple John Does and the older, like, floating ghosts on the strings from the ceiling. I think a couple of tabletops as well. But anyway, I got him from that website for about $80, because 60 and then 20 shipping, and I could not be happier with him. I love this prop a lot. He's not like a centerpiece prop, because, you know, he doesn't have much animation, he doesn't really talk, but for what he is, he really gets the job done. I've always adored the, like, blinky red lights. They've always been very charming to me. Now, as you can tell, his tombstone is in half, and I'm only doing that for this part of the review. I'm gonna put the top part on, because it comes in 2 pieces for storage. I'm gonna put the top part on when I demonstrate him. I just wanted to keep that off for now so you can get a little peek at his face, which, might I add, is very detailed. I really like how his face looks. He has like the little hood up there, as you can probably tell, and you can leave that behind his head or you could put it over in front of it. I prefer having it behind it for the most part so you can actually see his face, and then having the little Tekky Toys cheesecloth in front of the face, at least in front of the eyes, so it creates a cool little effect with the lights on. He's really loud. He's pretty loud even in comparison to other Tekky Toys props. That could just be his soundtrack, which I must add is amazing. The bulk of his soundtrack is just creepy ambience. I think he might use the same as Demonica and John Doe, but I could be wrong, I'm not too sure. I probably am wrong, but it's that and then church bells every now and again. And actually, he laughs in his soundtrack, which is really only audible in the demo. When he's actually being used, you can't hear the laughs. Everything else is way too loud, which I kind of prefer it that way. I think it fits his character a bit more. Him being the guardian of the grave who, you know, guards the graves, he's not really that malevolent of a being, I would think, but regardless, yeah, he's a really good prop. He's really good for, like, the background of a graveyard scene, and with the fog attachment, it's amazing. Unfortunately, I don't have a fog machine yet, but I'm gonna be getting one this season most likely, so I'll have that hooked up. Yeah. Oh yeah, also, his mechanism, as opposed to the standard track that Tekky uses on props like the Howler, who's sitting on a chair right now, as opposed to that, it's actually the telescoping mech that's used on Hovering Ghost. I'm not totally sure why they made it the telescoping mech. I mean, they did the same with the Evil Cauldron Witch, and it doesn't really change much other than the fact that it makes him go down farther. Like, he's smaller than the Howler, he's shorter than him, but it also means that he has a tendency to not want to stay straight. Like, if the cloth gets caught at all, he will, like, turn to the side, and it can be a little irritating at times, but it's not too big of an issue if you're able to mostly keep him straight. But yeah, the mech itself is pretty durable from what I can tell, at least the newer ones are. And overall, he's a pretty good quality prop. I genuinely love him. The face is plastic, obviously. It's fairly thin, like he doesn't really have the back of his head. It's not like fully fleshed out, but it doesn't really need to be. And yeah, I'll plug him in. He has a sound sensor, he can work on a step pad. This model has the newer step pad jack, as opposed to the harness. The 2008 to like 2013 models had the harness. So there was a rare period where you could have one of these that still had the delay, the 3-second delay, but also had the harness as opposed to the jack, which is an oddity. This one has the standard startup and the jack, so it's the newest one. I'll connect the tombstone. It's not essential, obviously, but it helps. His hands clamber over it with the Velcro, much like, you know, Creepy Caretaker and other props of this form factor. And it's the cheap styrofoam material, so you kind of got to be careful with it, especially if you're going to use it outside, which, you know, for Halloween I will. But that's why I'm going to build a fence around the graveyard, because I don't want anybody touching on any of my shit. So anyway, yeah, it's a little to the side, but I will activate him. He has a sound sensor and then the timer. He's a lot taller than you would think, also. And yes, I have to yell. He's very loud. I didn't really expect him to, like, fully pull the gravestone over his face, but sure. Yeah, he goes up a lot more and goes down a lot more than you would expect. Like, you'd think he would be taller from the starting position. You think he wouldn't compact as much as he does, but he does, and that's thanks to the Tekky telescoping mechanism. And with that, he also goes really tall. I think actually taller than any of the other Tekky risers, maybe even like, I think he might go taller than Creepy Caretaker. I'm not sure, I haven't really compared them side by side, but yeah. And the way I have it set right now, he kind of pulls the tombstone over him because of the way the Velcro is, but yeah. Overall, he's an amazing prop. I absolutely love him. I'm so glad to have him. He's been one of the ones that I fell in love with immediately, and it just took me a while to get one of them. If you can get the fog machine, definitely get it with him. It adds so much to the effect of him, because he's more of an, as I said, he's more of an atmospheric prop as opposed to one that you get for, like, the movements, you know? You get him for his looks and his soundtrack, which, oh my god, the soundtrack makes me nut. I love the church bells. It's such a cool effect. I'll activate him one more time before I shut up. Anyway, that's about all there is to him. He's a very simple prop, but when used right, he has such an amazing effect, and he can be super useful in any kind of haunt or display. So, anyway, yeah, if you want to get him, I'll leave the link in the description. There's still a couple of left on getcoolstuff.com. Problem is, they're kind of jank with their shipping. It might take a while to get to you. But since I live relatively close to the Tekky warehouse, it's pretty convenient. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching.